Hello my friends, Boomy here once again with another video for you, my SWTOR brothers and sisters. How's everyone doing today in a galaxy far, far, far? Ooh, we forced them to break silence. Away! This is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button for all your SWTOR fun, news, guides, and updates right here, right now. Make sure you leave comments and likes and shares and hit the bell. It helps out a bit. Because you know what? We need to get more videos like this and that of SWTOR Central and other people who are not necessarily critical. I mean, we're critical, but we have a passion and a love for this game. Guys, all your help helps us out. But anyways, besides that weird call to action, Keith Kenn and Ashley Rule finally came out. Finally, we caused them to break their silence because there's been so much kerfuffle on the forums, on the twits, on our YouTube channels, and I have to say what they kind of said, I kind of felt called out, and I'm sure Sam does too. But all the things we've been saying, all the comments that have been going around, people not entirely happy with how 7.5 happened with the cutscenes and just the bugs, and people just haven't been happy really since 6.0, and that's when this whole story arc has been going on since 6.0 2019. Dear God. But they finally broke silence, and it's interesting to read what they had to say because, okay, so let's read it, let's see what Keith had to say, let's see what Ashley had to say, and then we, my friends, we're going to talk about it. Keith Kenn first breaks silence and says, "Hello folks, I want to hop in here and clear up some of the miscommunications that we've seen in the forums and in other spaces players frequent. Some of this is based on folks misinterpreting what I've communicated in the past along with a limited knowledge of how our game development process works. I feel like they're calling us out. I really do. I kind of feel called out on this one, and that is totally fine. I've been a thorn in their sides for a long time, and that ain't gonna change." He continues, "Since we began the Legacy of the Sith, we had planned for a number of updates to tell the entire story, while also bringing in a variety of gameplay, events, adjustments, and even new features like the recent venture system. So it is fair to say that before we transitioned to Broadsword, a large part of our design direction was made while the team was at BioWare EA. They're still at EA. EA still owns the publishing rights, blah, blah, blah. But what this is pretty much saying is that, as I kind of thought, because God forbid SWTOR ever communicates things, that what we're getting is leftovers from BioWare, and kind of in a sense it is. But really, since 7.3, I believe, it's all been Broadsword. So I threw out the whole, like, well, let's leave Judgment at bay until 8.0, because I really thought that's when Broadsword was going to shine. That's when we're truly going to see what this game is capable of with Broadsword as the helm. But no, Broadsword has been at the helm for quite a bit now, so I'm just going to throw that out the window. I'm not even quite sure where this is going. But everything we are doing, he continues, now and have been doing for some time is completely new and developed here at Broadsword. There seems to be some perception that what is currently being developed is somehow different from what we've done in the past. It's because you people do not talk, you do not communicate with your community. You lie to your community when you say, guys, we're going to do a lot more live streams. We're going to do a lot more of those. We're going to be more consistent with our communication. And then you go back to never doing that. You lie to your community. Stop doing that. Like, this has been my biggest complaint even when I was in their creators program, is they make a ton of promises and never fulfill them. And that's always been a thing with Star Wars The Old Republic, and it hasn't changed, and is one of the things that is killing this game. He continues, when we work on an expansion and the ongoing updates related to it, we have a firm understanding of the direction we want to take the game. As a live service game, we are in a constant flow of creation and production. The shortest and simplest way to think of this is we plan, we scope, we develop, and then we deploy. I feel like they don't think that the rest of us, we don't play other MMOs, right? A lot, there are a good segment of people who like Star Wars The Old Republic is their only MMO. Words are broken. But if I would say the vast majority of players play other games, and we see how other studios do it, and we actually have a pretty good understanding of how things are done. So I kind of feel like this is like, well, you just don't understand. Actually, I think a lot of us do understand how this is done. Being a developer sucks, and it's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of gears and gadgets and gazmos and code and all that jazz you all have to do to get the product out. That's understandable. So don't talk down to us, Keith. A more detailed way of understanding this flow is that we are always in pre-production, production, and retrospective all at the same time across multiple game updates. We have outlines for future content and then bring relevant plans for the next update into sharp focus, detailing out what is needed and what is involved with said content. And of course, player feedback is another important factor that plays a part in SWTOR's development and allows us opportunities to reassess plans or make some adjustments. Yeah, kinda. You do a little bit. Your PTS is never online for long enough and have enough people on it to actually really get a good test for your game. So, kinda. But honestly, you guys don't listen to the feedback, except you guys don't listen to the critical feedback that is on your forums, on Twitter, on, in communities like this. You don't listen. I've seen that time and time again when I have submitted stuff from you guys and it just started falling to the wayside. I'll have to say Eric Musco did a great job, and so did Dan, when it came to submitting stuff and what you guys had to say and asking questions. And then it just really fell like a flan in a cupboard. In reality, the same folks who developed SWTOR in the past, most of whom have been here for 5 or 10 years plus, are still here and working hard to deliver, to expand and wrap up our current storylines, adding new cartel market items, new ways to interact with the game, and much more. I also understand that there has been feedback about the story content in the last couple of updates. I want to give the floor to Ashley so she can address this feedback. Listen, their feedback has been a bunch of people with torches and pitchforks because we don't know what's happening to this game. You don't talk to the community. You don't give us an actual roadmap of what's happening. The stuff you have been giving us recently feels like it's just spaghetti being thrown at the wall and hoping whatever sticks, that goes in. We're not quite sure. Malgus has barely been seen in an expansion around Malgus and what he's trying to do with Darth Null's Datacron. Or Holocron. But yeah, we're just getting some little Civil War tidbit with the Mandalorians, to which a lot of us are like, what's this what? So, yeah, but let's see what Ashley has to say, because, I have a lot to say about this. Ashley comes on and says, hello there. To reiterate what Keith said, the team working on SWTOR at Broadsword is largely the same team that was at BioWare. Same folks, different banner. This includes a narrative team, who have been authors in this story arc since the beginning. The legacy of the Sith narrative. I might add, though, Charles Boyd was in charge during the time, and story just seemed to make more sense and seemed to flow. The legacy of the Sith narrative has a high-level roadmap that has not changed, and that we haven't seen. But as we put each chapter into active development, we must be agile enough to accommodate big changes like our move to Broadsword. As our team sizes change, so has our development. We pivot, we scope, and we strategize to bring players the highest quality content that our current team can't produce. To that end, starting in Game Update 7.3, we adjusted our delivery of narrative content, particularly cinematics in the main story. As we've established a rhythm over the last few updates, I want to give context as to why we are varying our cinematic scene style in crit path story content and where you can expect it. We understand that the team has gotten smaller. I don't think there's no one out there who doesn't understand that. And we are willing to be patient and wait for good content, good story, a good narrative. Gamers, we are willing to wait for something that is going to be good. What we don't like is being given promises and hyped up on a lot of stuff, and then when we get this product, it's lacking in a lot of things. There's barely any story time in it, barely any end game, if at all. And if it's not for bugs or things not working, it's almost unplayable at times too. So we get that you have a smaller team. We get that. At the end of the day, that's an excuse. You guys can prioritize what you want to do. Date night is not one of those things. Your priority should be main story and narrative arc, and then you do your side stuff. But so far, what we've been seeing is like more attention, or how the community feels there's been more attention being placed on side quest stuff like date night and the event and all that stuff than it is to the main arc of the story, the main story narrative. That's how we have felt. And the biggest issue with this is stuff that Broadsword or Star Wars The Old Republic should have said in the live stream they had before 7.5 went live. They should have said this, hell, they should have said this before 7.3 went live. This studio is horrible, or this team is horrible at being honest with this community about where it is and where it's standing. I'm thankful that they're able to come out now and just like, give us, say what's going on, because in a sense they kind of were forced to, because so many people have been complaining. But it's almost to the point where it's a little too late. It's kind of like, you should have said this a long time ago, because a lot of people have left this game with a bad taste in their mouth. But I'm glad they're actually saying something. I didn't want this to be a complete poop on you video, but we're a passionate bunch and we have a passion for this game, but let's continue. Currently in SWTOR story content, we have two main scene types. Our standard scene type has voice lines for player character and NPC characters in a scene, and dialogue choices, which are limited to 3 choices. The staging, animation, and camera work is more complex, requiring a lot more time for our cinematic team to build complex choreography. These are our highest effort scenes, so we reserve them for the biggest impact moments, like action scenes, romances, and important choices. The problem is, your scenes where you put the KOTOR cutscenes in break the immersion for the main story. I know it does for me. I've seen it all over the place. I am definitely not the only one, and a lot of people have been talking about this. It breaks immersion. It does. It breaks it to where a lot of people are just like space barring through the thing and just picking a choice, because no matter what, it's ultimately going to end up in the same type of choice. So who cares? So you're getting people involved in the story, and then you're pushing them away with this with sandwiching KOTOR style cutscenes in the middle of a main story arc. You shouldn't do that. If you want to do KOTOR style cutscenes, and I get it, it costs money and blah 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 and time like that, do that for your side stuff, your dailies, your date night stuff. Well, maybe not the date night. You're gonna want both voiced on that one, but your side quest stuff should just be the KOTOR style. Which, by the way, your KOTOR style looks very outdated. Update that, and I'm sure a lot of us will be like, okay, this is kind of cool. But for the main story arc, it needs to stay the standard the way it has been since day one. That is what people know this game for. That is one of the reasons why people love this game. Why I love this game, because how it immerses you into the game, because of how you tell the story in that cinematic fashion. So doing it the way you did, especially in 7.5, is not the best way to do it, and you're just pissing more people off. Our second type is KOTOR style. These scenes have voiced lines for the NPCs, but player lines are unvoiced and only appear as dialogue choices. The dialogue choices in these scenes are expanded beyond the 3 choices in a standard scene, giving the player more response options. The staging and cameras are simplified, which puts less pressure on our cinematic team and means scenes can potentially be longer or more branchy since they reuse much of the staging setup. This means KOTOR scenes can have more conversational depth than if they were built as a standard scene. We use KOTOR scenes when we have conversational interactions, and we leverage the design to include additional player lines specific to the player's class, romance, and previous choices. The mix of standard and KOTOR scenes ensures that we can produce enough story content for the scale of each update, while also not overloading our current narrative team. It's extremely important to me and the rest of the leadership team that our content plans fit within our team's scope and maintain a healthy work-life balance. While I know this is a different style than previous game updates, we are still enthusiastic about building a story that feels emotionally impactful, dynamic, and personal to as many players and stories as possible. Your KOTOR's cutscenes, when weighed in with the standard cutscenes, are not personal and are not impactful. In fact, they take away from the story. Listen, I get it. You have a smaller budget, you have a smaller team. We all get that. But the community, Broadsword, I know you're listening. I know you are. The community is saying, but you're not prioritizing things where they should be. And now this is where they go like, well, if you actually understood developers. No, 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 no. Listen to your community, because we know a lot too. Focus on the main story of the game. Focus on the main narrative of the game. Focus on end game things for us to do. Give us more to do. You want to do KOTOR style cutscenes? Side quest item things? Like when he had to save all those people on the ship? That should all just been KOTOR style cutscenes. You want to do daily stuff? Or as I like to call it, a lazy dev's way of making content? Just do KOTOR style cutscenes. Or you can do as World of Warcraft does or other games do. You click on an NPC and then they just start talking. There's no cutscenes, nothing like that. It's just audio. And they start to talk. There you go. We just solved your problem right there. But that's good for your side quest stuff. That's good for your events. That's good for your dailies and stuff like that. But the biggest gripe from this community is outside of there being no end game, the R4 anomaly, what's it, master mode people are looking for that you guys have promised but haven't delivered on. PvP, they want ranked PvP pack. You can't talk about that in their live streams or you will get kicked out of it. Just saying. But you're not listening. And so this is why sometimes when you guys come onto the forums after like a long time of silence, why people like, this is really tone deaf. You're not picking up what we're trying to tell you. And this has just been SWTOR's thing. They're stuck in this bubble of theirs, and it's an echo chamber. It really is, because what my time having, with my foot in the door that I have seen is they do not do well with criticism, constructive or otherwise, and they just kind of like hole up. And they stay in their own little nexus, they stay in their own little world, and what they have on their whiteboards, that's awesome sauce. That's what we're going to do. I miss the days when Eric and Charles would live stream and they would take answers and questions from the community, and actually you can tell that they're actually reading what the chat is saying, outside of hand cherry-picked things from the chats that they've been doing recently in there, if they remember to do it at all, because they're having such cringe-worthy moments with each other. You kind of feel like, did I just walk into the break room? Is this what's going on? Which is fine. I'm glad they all get along and get together. That's great. I love that type of atmosphere. But you need to listen to your community or this game is going to die. All in all, I'm glad they communicated, but it came off a bit tone deaf and a little bit defensive. And I'm glad they kind of finally gave us like, hey guys, we're a much smaller team, pretty much a smaller budget. This is why we're doing what we're doing. That's all we've been asking for a couple years now. That's all we've been asking for. But yet, it takes a community on fire for them to finally come out and say something, which is ridiculous. They need to communicate more and just do a lot more things. This is a lot longer video than I thought it was going to be, but this is just something we had to talk about, my friends. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's keep the conversation going on down there. What did you think about Keith and Ashley's response to the community and all that stuff? I can tell you right now, I went through the forums and a lot of it, it's a dumpster fire right now. That's what it is. A lot of people are still not happy with this. There are some people who are like, yeah, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And there are other people going like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad you're finally talking to us, but you completely missed the point. So let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on all these things. Am I wrong? Am I right? Let's just go, because the more comments we get, the more this video gets out there, and we needed to get out there because, as Sam SWTOR Central said in his video a week or so ago, we need to have our voices heard. The community needs to get his voice heard for there to be actual change. Hell, I would pay 20 bucks for a new expansion if that's what it takes to get more money in the coffers, for them to hire more people, and so we can get this game where it needs to be. I'm not going over $20 because this is no longer a AAA franchise, and the content we've been getting so far is nowhere near a AAA price tag. One can argue a lot of AAA games now that have been going out there are also not worth the price tag that they have. Anyways, my friends, you know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the bell notification button, hit that share button, share this to all your friends and your enemies, and make sure you hit the subscribe button. Become part of the family here at Boomynation, the freak show YouTube, the black sheep of gaming. And as always, my friends, remember to be kind. It's about community. And don't forget to spay and neuter your Wookiee. We'll see you later, my friends. Good day.